Talk Show. I'm your host, Rudy Reyes, and thank you for tuning in here to the Two Lives Juice Radio Network for at least un hora. And for those that don't know, that's 1 hour. And we're going to open up the floor to even more variety of sports here and those topics therein, including the outcome of the McGregor and Mayweather fight, including the referee stopping the fight prematurely. Yes, I said prematurely. I want to go into my designation as to why. I was watching that fight from the onset, and I'm live right here on Facebook, live on Spreaker, so tune in, get involved in the chat. We're right here on Spreaker, and you can communicate with me as well here on Facebook Live, right on the Rude Dog Show Facebook fan page on Facebook. I was looking at this fight, and I thought to myself, this is unprecedented. I mean, it's very unlikely and highly unlikely that I would have ever seen these two in the same ring or octagon in my life. And I'd like to suggest there may be something else more to this. And when I say that, I'm talking about having more fighters crossing over from the UFC to go into boxing, because they do strike in the UFC. Am I not accurate on that one? Literally. You see where I was going with that? Strike, accuracy? Well, that's what they need to do. But it was hard for McGregor to really get acclimated from the onset without getting into body holds and hugging Mayweather. I mean, he was trying to get a little close. Maybe that wasn't the type of closeness he was looking for. But when I think of fights like this, I think to myself, man, is there more to this? Am I missing something here? Seriously, am I missing out on players? Am I missing out on other guys who ultimately do the very same thing? No, McGregor is a top notch to his game. That's what he does. Can Mayweather find a way to get into an octagon at 40 years old? Probably not. As much as I like Mayweather in a 50 win against McGregor, was his 50th win, 50-0, I think some of those were really questionable to suggest that Mayweather won all those fights without any controversy. People just laid it down saying, oh, well, it's Money Mayweather. He has the money. Let's just call him the king and pay him the money, and we can live to fight another day. But this fight was unprecedented. I watched a fight. This is something you may not ever see again from anybody. Why? Because there are not a lot of Conor McGregors floating around there. You're not going to have guys who are wanting to get into boxing. And look, let's face it. Boxing from a reality standpoint is not what it should be. At least not at this point. It should be outshining the UFC in the MMA format. But it's not. It's probably more on a resuscitation mode now that Mayweather has finally fought and won Conor McGregor. Is Mayweather high caliber? Absolutely. Especially at 50-0. Mayweather's career, as he said post-fight, that he is truly done. But is any athlete really done? Is there any NFL player, former player who's really itching to get onto the field that may let their mind go where their physicality cannot? They're getting on the field. They're all suited up. I think the closest person that somebody was talking about yesterday with Antoine McLean, and that was Jay Cutler, getting back on the field in his near mid-30s. But I don't think an athlete is ever truly done. Their mind is, well, I can do this. I can make this slam dunk, or I can play very good defense. Or if I'm on a football field, I can kick that 50-plus yard field goal to win it. And there are guys in the NFL right now that are doing it. Vinatieri is one of them, amongst many other guys who played way into their late 30s, early 40s. But I think to myself, is Mayweather really done? Is there anybody left out there for Mayweather to really lay the hammer down on? He's 50-0. I mean, you walked away being unscathed, unbeaten in your entire career. I don't know that he's truly done, but what happens is that Father Time, being undefeated, will make you believe that mentally you can play the game, whereas you're not really able to do it physically. Those two do not quite mesh up very well. And it makes you wonder how they can continue to want to get back to where they once were. They're dying to do it. Michael Jordan tried to do it. Brett Favre tried to do it and come out of retirement. There are a lot of famous athletes who made their career early on, won a Super Bowl, has all these accolades for marketing, for branding, for being asked to be on shaver commercials and things of that nature. And sometimes you really have to show what it is. I mean, it is what it is. And I mean, show it in a different setting. In other words, you're going to be sent to a television studio. You have to be able to follow the script, read the script, just like you're reading plays if you're an NFL player. But it just makes you wonder how badly they want to continue fighting, how badly they want to contribute to a team. And it'd be foolish that they could possibly cut, move, shake, and bake like they were on a hardwood court, clay court, a football field, a golf course, even though Arnold Palmer went well into his 80s. But I think when you're truly no longer physically able to perform, and look, no copper fit cannot help you get back into the spotlight in any sport, so don't even think about it. When you have very few exceptions, but everyone should follow those exceptions as they're set in place, and they're known as rules. And some of those are unwritten rules of engagement, or sometimes a lack thereof. You're either the rule or the exception. A few athletes come to mind who have already won their fair share of millions, and seriously should consider retirement if they haven't already retired. Should there be a part two? Somebody asked me yesterday on Twitter between McGregor and Mayweather. The simple answer to that is no. The more convoluted answer to that is yes, with a variety of dollars, because without those dollars, it makes no sense. It doesn't. Whether it's a fight in a ring, an octagon, a hardwood court, the big three, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. These guys were destined to fight this match. I think Mayweather was destined to fight this match because had it have been, interesting chime in, Kelvin. We're going to talk about that here on the show, so don't worry. But when you put a fighter in the ring, an octagon, hardwood court, a football field, I think that the answer to that is no, regardless of how much money you're being paid. And I think a lot of players followed suit. And the designation was, look, I've had enough hits. I've had enough concussions. I've had enough issues. Good question, by the way. Kelvin Nicholas Colbert, as we can name ourselves anything we want on social media. But when you look at some boxing matches, which should not take place just due to age, simply alone, if you base that on the age factor, it simply reminds me of something that has been predicated time and time again with the same narrative. You may see another lifetime, and you may never see a lifetime of crossover fights between MMA and boxing because of how damaging those strikes cannot be in a boxing ring. Look, McGregor had some solid shots, but the impact of his punches, regardless of the ounces of gloves that he was wearing, did not do basically anything to Mayweather. It did not. He landed a plethora of them, but when you look at the inside game that McGregor had the entire game until his 25 minutes of fame was over with, and all of a sudden his physicality, his cardio, his rubbery legs that were standing underneath him did not look as though he can take any more. I think that's one of the reasons why he was prematurely called to say, I'm done, it's over, the fight is finished, Mayweather won. Now, on the other side of this, McGregor was wondering himself on a post-game conversation, why was it stopped? I didn't see him go down. Did he fall down? Was there some type of standing 8 count? I mean, was there anything to let you indicate that McGregor was done and over with? No, he was not. I don't think McGregor was done at all. I think he could have continued. How much longer? Nobody knows, but I think he could have at least gone another round. Look, these were 3-minute rounds. He could have gone another 3 minutes at least. Give him a seat, sit him down, let him finish out the match, let him get knocked down. He even said it himself, he said, just let me fall down on the ground. Why just let me fall to the ground? Give me an opportunity to get back up, because if I could, I would get up and fight some more. I don't understand. I'm kind of at a loss here in reality's sake. Because when you look at the juncture for which McGregor was taking this fight on, I think it was more for Mayweather to prove that he can go 50-0. I think that was the number he was trying to reach, was 50-0. It's a nice round number. Who doesn't want to be 50-0? Nobody wants to be age 50, but for a record, they want to be 50-0. I think that the magnitude of this fight was fantastic. The build up to this fight, not so much. And I say that because there were so many cheap shots. Matter of fact, there was a photo. Yeah, it was a nice setup. But there was a photo of those two guys sitting. It looked like it was the same plane, but it actually was not. It was an identical plane. They were both on at the same time. And you can Photoshop anything nowadays. Come on, who doesn't want to do something like that to cause some controversy? Or you just clearly have way too much time on your hands. That's speculative, Ben. Did you see him go down once? Did he fall down once? No. Did he get on his knee at least once? No. Was he on his elbow? No. Did he get knocked out? No. He was getting pummeled in the corner, yes. But McGregor can sustain some serious hits. He has in MMA. How much harder hits in the MMA versus those types of PSI hits in boxing? Are they any different? Are they any less? You're still trying to do one thing and one thing only, and that's to knock your opponent down and or out of the ring and or the octagon. Of course, there's no such thing. You have to get somebody either knocked out or get them by submission. Good, interesting point, Ben, but I don't think so. I have a hard time believing that McGregor was knocked out. Had this have been, let's just say, a minute 50 per round, not 3, let's just put that in half. So if McGregor was out there a minute 50 with the type of punches that he was able to really put on and the damage he could inflict, could have ultimately went the distance without anybody being knocked out. You're obviously not a McGregor fan. I'm just saying. I don't know about Triple G either. There's been a conversation about Triple G and how Triple G could come back and fight as well. And that ain't going to happen. It's not going to happen. If Triple G does come back, he's going to face somebody else. End of story. Triple G is not going to come back to fight either one of these guys. As a matter of fact, I can almost tell you that despite Mayweather's answer of, no, I'm done. You can pay me millions of dollars, I'm done. Yeah, right. If that was the case, he would have been done a long time ago. And who doesn't know that? Anybody knows that better than him? No, he does. He'd stay in there. But yeah, Triple G with Canelo, yes. I cannot wait for that one. That's the next one to help give boxing more of a jump start than anything else. Good point, guys. You can chat right here live on Spreaker. This is Rudy Reyes on the Rude Dog Show on the 2 Live Stews Radio Network. I think it's possible to see a world-class boxer or someone of the equivalent convert from a craft they haven't spent a whole long amount of time to not only the UFC but in boxing. It took a long time for McGregor to get into a boxing condition other than the cardio. Did he epically fail? He was fatigued, but he didn't get knocked out. 12 3-minute rounds. He didn't get knocked out. Good point, Sasha. And you know what? I think everybody's more hyped to see Triple G take on Canelo and would actually pay the money instead of not paying the money to see Mayweather or McGregor. But that's just me. I'm throwing that out there because, well, I can. I think the amount of time that you use when you're in the UFC to take part in learning that sport, you can include all the intangibles, the grapples, the locks, and you could probably suggest that you could be a powerhouse in a dual sport situation. Could you not? I think so. A lot of guys who participate in high school or college have either played track or some other sport, maybe basketball, will end up crossing over to play another sport. Why? Because they have the athleticism to make an impact in that sport. For example, let's just say somebody's in track and field, and they want to spread their wings athletically to get to, let's just say basketball or football for that matter. Your body needs to be conditioned to play those respective sports. You can't just jump into playing football when you're a $1.5 soaking wet, but you're an athletic freak. It doesn't work that way. Because one hit and you're crushed and it's over. Somebody call up the stretcher. Good point. I would definitely pay to watch Triple G and Canelo. But I think that when somebody who's younger who wants to play in a dual sport situation can really excel. I'll use another case in point. Could they become a dual threat if they play rugby? Absolutely. However, in some ways, because you're a sports professional, doesn't mean you are a true professional. Because you were picked to play a sport many young men have yet to reach their pinnacle in. Is the journey purely defined by entering the sport of your choice, or are you held back because of the choices you've made outside of sports, or maybe even while you're there? I think I'd take Triple G. Triple G and Alvarez? I don't know about that. That remains to be seen. But you're right, Sasha, good point. MMA has been taken over, so it's always about the money. Look, you're playing a professional sport. How can this not be about money? Do guys transfer out of the NFL just purely based on money alone? Or are they all greedy? No. I say if Triple G should be put up against Alvarez. As Alvarez wins, he should go on to fight Canelo. Triple G wins, he should go on to fight Canelo. End of story. That's how it should go. How it will go is another story, but that's how it should go. I think that while you're in your respective sport, I don't think this topic is spoken about enough because it's the ugly side of sports, and there are some who will tackle it literally and others who would just allow it to slip away. But nobody wants to talk about the rehabilitation processes for some players in the NFL who realize that it's a blessing to even play in the NFL. Is it after the fact? Is it during? Is it post? So yes, they're certainly going to miss the right to play in the NFL. There is no right to play in the NFL. I don't care who says what, when, how, and why. You have a very limited amount of time in the NFL. Make your impact on the field and in concordance off the field while you're in the league. So let's talk about the ones who are recovering from whatever has ailed them personally. That's disabled them from being positive in the locker room, positive on the field, positive on the hardwood court. Positive, you don't hear about these things other than just in the NFL. I guarantee it happens. Biggest question is, where does it happen? Does it happen in tennis? It happens in golf. Tiger Woods is a good example of that. Adrian, I have to answer you. Money Mayweather is your answer. I guarantee if they put a dangling, shiny, multi-million-dollar carrot hanging in front of Money Mayweather, he will come out to fight. And he'll be 51-0. No? We'll see. We'll see. Because again, I'm not convinced that Mayweather's done. And nor should anybody else. This is a big facade. This is what he wants people to believe. This is what his club wants him to believe. But lo and behold, when you look at a guy like Money Mayweather, he's done and gone about things the right way. He doesn't need rehabilitation. All he needs is to win. And you're right, he will not be Triple J. So his record will go down 50-1. That doesn't sound very good. In Mayweather's eyesight, in Mayweather's mind, what he's thinking, I don't want to be 50-1, so I don't know. Should I be? Should I not be? Should I play? Should I not play? Should I come out with the big boys and make it 51-0? Who doesn't want to be 51-0? I know I wouldn't mind being 50-0, but he's already there. I like where this is going. You see what Mayweather had done? And he did this. It was a complete preface behind all of this. And here's what it is. Mayweather will not fight unless it's for the right amount of money. Period. He can say what he wants. He can say that he's done. He can say anything he wants. Just don't believe it. If you want a guy to get in the ring to make an impact, Triple G is your guy. And I guarantee, just like when people had said earlier that this McGregor would not be just a hoax, an untruth. Well, it happened, didn't it? It was all designed. It was designed for this reason. Listen to the player, listen to the boxer, listen to the MMA artist, but listen between the gray areas. Because these guys could be ultimately the deciders of their own fate, whether win or lose. Does Mayweather come out of retirement? Let's hear it. Live on Spreaker, live on Facebook. Thank you for tuning in. It's Rudy Reyes right here on the Root Dog Show. On the Two Live Stews Radio Network. Thank you for tuning in. Have roughly 39 minutes left on this show. Good questions. I appreciate you guys tuning in, so thank you for doing so. I think when you look at these players and how they were able to get to this point, and I think it's way too late to suggest that, well, I made a mistake and I don't deserve another chance. Well, that's not true. That's not true at all. Good point, Adrian. It's real simple. McGregor will go back and fight. That's right. Up into the sunset. You're right, Davey. You hit it right on the head. He's going to go back and he's going to win more titles, win more bouts until he can't do this anymore. Don't forget, 10 years ago, this guy was homeless. He was begging for money on the streets of Dublin. He didn't have a dime to his name. His girlfriend brought him in to her house. Now he's a mega superstar. All because of his willingness, his passion, his drive, his determination, his motivation, his willingness to succeed at every level. Everybody should look at him for that example, if nothing else. But then you have everybody else. You have all the other guys that wish they could have done something. I was overhearing that Johnny Manziel's got a second chance, could possibly play in the CFL. Of course, those have been rumors floating around right after his release. And a very timely release, I might add, from the Browns. Speaking of the Browns, we're going to move on to some NFL preseason talk for those who are really interested in the NFL. I know I have a lot of viewers that do, so thank you for tuning in. This is Rudy Reyes right here on the Root Dog Show on the Two Live Stews Radio Network. I want to talk about NFL preseason and the Week 4 situation. Now, everybody should know, and you should already be clued into this, that the Houston Texans and Dallas Cowboys will not be participating in Texas Stadium for Week 4 due to Hurricane Harvey basically laying down. Oh, update. Interesting. So Manziel was turned down by Hamilton because he said he's not ready. Doesn't shock me there. He wasn't ready to get back into the NFL. Could he go into broadcasting? I don't know. I think if he puts the bottle down and stop with his fingers at this business, he may be able to see straight without the disturbance of the eyes focusing on the money. I know he has money on his mind, but his health and well-being should be first and foremost. Well, a lot of Browns news, probably more Browns news than I think anything else going on in the NFL right now. Why? There's a big buzz going on. Steeler fans are basically coming short of holding out signs like they did to protest Michael Vick's entrance into the Steeler locker room and onto the St. Vincent Field in Latrobe. There are no signs pulling Joe Hayden to come to the Pittsburgh Steelers despite the Browns releasing him. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But I think a lot of big names, and I think that those teams that can't justify having big names on the roster because those big names come with big money. They always have and they always will, at least in today's NFL. Not back then. I think you can't remiss certain moves that have been made so far because, yes, as quickly as the preseason came and went, you should have been able to blink an eye and watch it go by, or perhaps you didn't care one bit. It didn't really matter to you whatsoever. It didn't interrupt with your sleep pattern, and you were able to sleep better at night. So be it. I think many transactions also by teams are trying to not only thin out their roster, but find those individuals who are up for more than just a challenge. You can be challenged in a variety of ways. You can be challenged at playing croquet. You can be challenged at playing golf. You can be challenged at tennis. You can be challenged at anything, but these teams are looking for the creme de la creme. The guys who are trying to get to the next level. Thank you, everybody, for chiming in, chatting in. I appreciate it. About 34 minutes left here on the Rude Dog Show on the Two Lights News Radio Network. But I think that these guys are ready to stay there, to stay put. There are more cuts that are going to come by an NFL team, guarantee it. But the biggest question I have is this. Whose ultimate decision was, because they had just interviewed on NFL Network, they had Cushing on. And Cushing was talking about how, well, it's kind of what it is. And the reporter said, well, what do you think about playing right now? And, you know, all you had to do is listen to the interview. You heard a sovereign in his voice, Brian Cushing, very and clearly, obviously upset. Was he more upset about what's going on in Houston, or the fact that he had to play while his family, his people in Houston are suffering right now? I think that's one of the reasons why they decided to call the game, so that way Houstonians. Freddie Ramirez chimed in. Quick review here. I think the Steelers were bound to sign Joe Hayden, and congratulations on that one, Joe Hayden. I need to find a little bit more information about this story. If anybody has a link, please post it. But I think it was more about him wanting to stay in the general area. Again, this is the AFC North. Cleveland, Ohio from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania is a hop, skip, and a jump, maybe an hour or so away. So it's not as if he was wanting to go very far. And I don't think it was about the money. I don't think it was about the distance. I thought it was about the perfect situation where you face a team twice every single year. I think Joe Hayden more familiar with the offense of the Steelers to know how to challenge them. In other words, now can turn and flip the script to do something for the Steelers. Has he dropped off a little bit? Maybe. Then again, you could probably say that the Brown system is not what it could be. It's not what it should be. Of course, everybody's been saying that for years. For years. Do the Browns have a team? That remains to be seen. I don't know. I'm going to check my Twitter line here, and I'm going to look for some information in regards to that. Freddie Ramirez, thank you for that update here. And of course, that's what I was waiting for. And I look at the NFL and I think to myself, man, this is a not for long situation. You know, Joe Hayden's not getting any younger, but let's see here. Well, 3 hours ago, they were making a push. Unless you have a link to support it, I don't know that. Because right now, I don't see anything supporting Joe Hayden being signed on the Steelers. So, when I think of more surprises, I think there are even more to come, league-wide. Now, these guys are going to be hot ticket, hot commodities, going to find themselves on an NFL roster somewhere. So the latest on Joe Hayden was approximately 3 hours ago from Pro Football Talk. Oh, it's on the NFL Network? Well, they're the ones that get it before anybody else does. That's a fact. So let's check this out, because I'm really interested. So stand by, bear with me here. I want to see this. Can't find it anywhere. Like I said, if you have a link pasted here, I'll be glad to look at it. So Steelers and Saints, I think there were some rumors around the Saints looking at Joe Hayden as well because of their horrific situation in the secondary. The Squealers, that's hilarious, but unfounded. Bleacher Report also said Hayden with a 3-year, $27 million deal from Bleacher Report. You heard it here first, live. But he can't sign, you're right. He doesn't clear waivers until 4 p.m., which is already done. It's 3 hours. It's 4:30 in the East. So if he signed, he must have signed within the last 10 minutes of this broadcast. And it's 1:31 here on the Pacific time zone. But I think the Steelers have seen this situation before. You remember Eric Weddle. And now he was on the market. He was a hot commodity, hot ticket. Few teams were in hot pursuit of Weddle as well as he was exiting from then the San Diego Chargers. I'm going to look at Schefter's tweet. Let's go to Mr. Adam Schefter. I have a lot of respect for Adam Schefter, just for those that don't know. Not the true Adam Schefter. Why do people do this? They put all these names. All right, let's see here. Let's see what Chef says. He wanted Pittsburgh. Hayden is a Steeler as of 11 minutes ago. Raiders signed Seth Roberts, wide receiver. $27 million, $7 million this year. ESPN. Well, congratulations. Yeah, I don't have room to look at any of this right now, but welcome to Steeler Nation, Joe Hayden. I'm going to tweet him out here. Because I like to tweet, it's my thing. If I had the right one, how many Joe Haydens are there? I mean, you can imagine how that works. Yep, he's a Gator. And there it is there. Done deal. It's over. Welcome Joe Hayden to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was just now signed about 12 minutes ago. So now, yeah, relatively. But I think this is more about him wanting to be effective. Don't forget, Eric Weddle had left San Diego at the time of San Diego. And there were a lot of rumors. Steeler fans were crying all over the place. Well, sign Weddle, sign Weddle, sign Weddle. Well, Weddle was visiting the Steelers, decided not to bother any longer because he had already made his decision by signing with the AFC North rival Baltimore Ravens. I think the deal was right up his alley. I mean, right up his alley. I don't know if it was something that he was expecting. I don't know if the money was something he was expecting. But I can tell you this, he's going to be part of that cornerback rotation. You have to. Artie Burns, only his second year. Joe Hayden is twice his junior, if you want to. Rather, Burns is twice his junior. Playing Eric Weddle was leaving the Chargers. Of course, it was a no-brainer that the Steelers were going to look at Joe Hayden first because of the youth they have in the secondary. So that does not surprise me one iota that Joe Hayden. And if you were just wondering, Joe, feel free to call into the show. I'm on Spreaker. Chat with us in the room. Welcome to Steeler Nation. I think a lot of rumors were floating around with Joe Hayden and the fact that he was dropping off a little bit. His physicality, his mindset, his attitude. I think a lot of that had to do with him not wanting to be there anymore, especially since a new regime had taken over for the Cleveland Browns. Of course, when is there not a new regime in Cleveland? But a 3-year, $27 million deal, including a $7 million bonus, or $7 million this year, basically took over the contract and added a little bit of sugar on top of something that he was probably not expecting. Do I see him starting? Yes. Absolutely. I think he was fine that there are a lot more people that were more familiar with Joe Hayden about him falling down than about his rise to where he's at right now. And that's with a team who has a better chance of getting to the playoffs than probably any other team in the AFC North. Sorry, Burfict and Pac-Man, but that's just the way it is. So again, congratulations, Joe Hayden, on making it to being signed by the Pittsburgh Steelers. Look forward to seeing you in black and gold this year. I think there's another no-brainer here, and I know you guys have seen this. No, this is not a release. This is not a wave. This particular gentleman, I have tried so many times getting him onto my show, and I know he's busy. He was just on an ESPN affiliate here in Los Angeles, AM 570, I think it was, which is a Fox entity, and then on ESPN Radio and things of that nature. A lot of buzz surrounding Eric Dickerson retiring a Ram after all these years. But of course, you already knew last year he couldn't do it because he was banned from the sidelines. But Eric Dickerson signed a one-day contract signing with the Rams to retire and become to the Los Angeles Rams front office is way overdue. Way overdue. Everybody remembers the situation that was facing Jeff Fisher as head coach for the Los Angeles Rams. Did they take them out of a St. Louis situation and put them in a Los Angeles situation to change head coaches? No, they didn't even think about doing it. They were waiting. They were pulling a serious amount of methodology. They're really counting Jeff Fisher to do something more, which is shooting himself in the foot by telling a Hall of Famer like Eric Dickerson you are no longer welcome on the sidelines. But what's even more interesting is that the front office said, okay, if that's what you say, coach, we'll go ahead and make it so. Doesn't that make you wonder? We're talking about Eric Dickerson. We're not talking about some schmo who played 1 year in the NFL. This guy's a Hall of Famer. It's like saying that the Steelers would ban Jerome Bettis from ever partaking in anything. As a matter of fact, there's an upcoming Hall ceremony for the Steelers adding Jerome Bettis, along with Franco Harris, Bean Joe Green, Ernie Stotner, and the list goes on and on and on of Hall of Famers. Don Henry Johnson, to name another fantastic Hall of Famer. But I think that Eric Dickerson's coming back to the Rams is more about what it means to him to have a retirement, to finally set the stone in the water, to call it a day. And that was something that I would have hoped would come to pass for him and the Rams last year, but it didn't happen. So then this feud, and we're going to go about it for a little bit longer. You're talking about Coach Jeff Fisher and how he banned Eric Dickerson from the sidelines. But it's interesting to see what a year makes. As an extension for Jeff Fisher was given, and to the dismay of many loyal Rams fans, I wasn't a fan of it either, considering their record. I mean, look at the record. Every team's record is a reflection of who they are. If you don't work for their system, you need to go. Period. I don't care what position, coach, head coach. He was hanging on to that Super Bowl win. That's what he was hanging on to, Cedric Galloway. Everybody knows that. But I think the Rams, and to your point, had given him enough rope to eventually hang himself, and that's exactly what he did, proverbially speaking, of course. I think even Eric Dickerson himself had a huge problem with this mediocre coach telling him that he's banned from the sideline. Banned! Not you can't come onto the field for a couple of days or a week or a month. No, period, end of story. I think ownership for the Rams had a serious change of heart when they recognized what they had done and what they allowed Jeff Fisher to do. I believe that after releasing Jeff Fisher, decided to take back the reins, hire Sean McVay, and allow him to not travel down a Fisher road because nobody wanted to pay the Fisher price. They parted ways with Fisher after the banning, but I think the writing could have been on the wall for Jeff Fisher. I mean, at that point, you have to ask yourself, if you're going to ban a guy from being on the sidelines, what did he do? What did he do so inhumanely? Did he steal your cat? Did he take your newspaper? Was there anything at all whatsoever that he did to you personally other than to step on your toes and tell you what you're doing wrong and help give you guidance and understanding because he's a much better player than you will ever be a coach? I hate to say that, but it's true. Again, numbers don't lie. They don't lie. Just in case everybody missed it, Joe Hayden now signed a Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback with a huge contract deal. $7 million up front for the season and $27 for 3. That's amazing. That's mind-blowing. Anyway, that's the breaking news, at least as I have it, as I understood it. That was per Adam Schefter of ESPN. But I think that when I look at Jeff Fisher and I look at Eric Dickerson, I look at that, this could have easily been handled in a very different fashion. They could have sat down, they could have talked about it, they could have said, this is where we're at. Let's work this out. Let's talk about this. Let's make this something that we can put behind us, move forward professionally, personally. This isn't a vendetta. What I said probably wasn't proper. All the while, Eric Dickerson just sitting back with his hands crossed saying, waiting for Jeff Fisher to say something that would end up putting himself further down on a list of potential retired coaches. But the fact that Jeff Fisher decided to go that direction, to go that route, to be the one to tell a Hall of Famer that he's banned of a player who knows the system probably better than any other Ram in history, and respectively so. There are a lot of great Rams quarterbacks, and Vince Ferragamo and many, many others, Kurt Warner, Marshall Faulk. But look at this banning as the nail that was to seal Jeff Fisher's fate and shut the coffin door. So congratulations, Eric Dickerson, on your retirement and new position with the front office. And I think that when you look at the type of decisions you'll be making, it will be many, many years to come. You'll be doing this well into your 70s, maybe even 80s. So again, congratulations to you. And hopefully I can get you on the show real soon before you take your duties up in the Rams front office. Let's look at some other transactions going on in the NFL as far as releases and waivers and terminations. And man, the list hasn't even started to get thicker, but this is where it's at right now. Longtime guard Kareem Barton, defensive end Jake Metz, running back Cedric O'Neal, safety Bakari Rambo, cornerback Jamal Roll, and wide receiver Rashad Ross. I guarantee Rashad Ross will find a position somewhere else in the waiver wire. Bears waived defensive lineman Capron Lewis Moore and linebacker Alex Skeers. Browns terminated. When I say terminated, you don't see the word terminated very often, and it's almost sad to see it. You are terminated. Well, that's exactly what happened to defensive lineman Cam Johnson. They waived the injured defensive back Ed Reynolds II, and of course they had released Joe Hayden, now signed by the Pittsburgh Steelers, who will be possibly starting in the cornerback system there in Pittsburgh. Lions waived offensive tackle Cyrus Coandijo. Colts waived George Wynn, on injured reserve, but while doing that, freeing up roster space for Joe Richardson, former Pittsburgh Steeler running back. And I think there was just way too many running backs in the Steeler system to even warrant keeping Joe Richardson. So good things moving for you, Daryl, there in Indianapolis. And of course, Rams with that one-day contract that Kurt Warner chimed in and said, you better make sure you read that contract and the amount of money for a one-day contract. And of course, the Patriots traded linebacker Marquise Flowers to the Patriots for 2018 7th round draft pick, and Patriots released Christian Kuntz. The Saints placed tight end John Phillips on injured reserve and released defensive end. This was kind of shocking to me, Jason Jones, who did so well in preseason. Of course, the Giants waived Owa Odeghizua. Hopefully that was said properly. The names just kind of scare me. But they went ahead and did that. So right now, Bills, Bears, Browns, Lions, Colts, Reds, Patriots, Saints, and Giants finding themselves releasing a few guys and expect a ton more of players to come to be put on the waiver wire. This is Rudy Reyes on the Root Dog Show on the Two Life Steelers Radio Network. Let's move on to the last games in the preseason. I know it doesn't matter, and I know it's vanilla, and I get it. But preseason is preseason. Everybody knew that the Dallas Cowboys, because of the Ezekiel Elliott situation, would find himself without the running back. Possibly 6 games. We don't know. I don't know. Only the NFL knows. He's the appealing process right now. Montez Perfect also applied due to that hit on a Chiefs player. Something you're kind of familiar with. Something that doesn't surprise you. It doesn't surprise me at all to see Montez Perfect in this type of trouble. Never. Basically doing it to himself. Thursday's action. Preseason in a Week 4 situation. This is all before your regular season opening day weekend, September 10th, for the NFL. Jaguars take on the Falcons, Bengals and Colts, Eagles, Jets, Redskins, Buccaneers, Dolphins, Vikings, Ravens, Saints, Titans against the Chiefs, Chargers against the Niners. That ought to be interesting. Reuben Foster, that big defensive front in San Francisco. The Rams taking on the Packers. Lions facing off against the against an AFC East opponent, Buffalo Bills. Giants taking on the Patriots. Have you not seen this before? Has the writing not been on the wall for this game? How many times did the Giants face the Patriots and won? Basically every single time. Steelers will take on the Panthers. Duly noted, Sasha. Cowboys will take on the Texas. Browns will take on the Bears. This is starting to look like a new Brown system. Could be the same Brown system in the same old brown paper bag. Nobody knows. We're going to find out. Arizona Cardinals take on the Denver Broncos. Seattle Seahawks taking on the Raiders. And that is your Week 4 for preseason. I'm going to call these games as I see them as far as wins and loss. I think the Falcons take care of business against a Jaguars team that cannot figure out who their quarterback is and if they even have one. Chad Henne doesn't really look all that great. Blake Bortles can certainly find his way out of Jacksonville in a blink of an eye. That could very well happen. Question is, who's their quarterback of the future? Who do they stick with? I don't know. They should have already signed Colin Kaepernick. Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Colts. I think this is going to be a close one, but I think at the end of the day, it's going to rely on Andy Dalton's arm to A.J. Green. I think the Bengals end up winning that matchup. And then the Eagles against the Jets. I think the Eagles have way too much offense, and Carson Wentz an even better defense. I think the Eagles upend the Jets in a very big way. they win that contest. And then the Redskins against the Buccaneers. I think Jameis Winston has grown exponentially. I think he's going to be a lot better under center, making better decisions in a throw-by-throw situation. He's going to follow his reads, going to check his progression, going to make sure that whatever check down he has, he's going to need to make it. If it's a first down, then so be it. And you're right, Patriots starters have the night off versus the Giants. I didn't suspect the Patriots, Greg, would even have any starters on the field. Not one. None. I think they learned their lesson when Julian Edelman went down for the season. Did I say the season? Yes, I said the season. He's done. I think the Buccaneers win that contest against the Redskins. Dolphins take on the Vikings. I have not seen a Vikings preseason game yet, so I don't know what that looks like with that McKinnon background and who's going to start under center. And I think there's a lot more questions from starting roles than anything else for the Minnesota Vikings. Dolphins win that game. Whether they're starting or not, I think that when you look at Jay Cutler, he needs to start that game. He probably needs to play a good part of that to become even more so acclimated to that offense of Adam Gase and the Miami Dolphins. So I think the Dolphins will end up winning that contest, but it won't be a big, huge, surmountable win, probably looking at a touchdown, and that's it. And you have Ravens against the Saints. The defense of the Ravens is absolutely monstrous right now. I think the Ravens end up winning this contest because of the defense, but you can't count out Drew Brees. You can never count out Drew Brees once he's on the field. I think the Ravens win this by a touchdown. Then you have the Titans versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Titans look good. I'm really shocked about the Titans this year. And I think Alex Smith has seen a slow decline. I think you're going to witness that in the regular season. And I don't think they have as dominant of a defense as they've had in the past. So I think the Titans will win this by 2 touchdowns, regardless of what the Chiefs have up front. I just don't think they have the power to get to the quarterback in the regular season. That may change if the Chiefs get to the postseason. We're certainly going to find out what that's about. Then Chargers take on the 49ers. This is going to be a closer contest than some people think, and here's why. Despite the Chargers not having the guy under center, and it's still not Phillip Rivers, and it's not any backup they even have, because their backup situation is a mess right now. Too many misreads by second tier, third tier quarterbacks for the Chargers. I think the 49ers end up taking this one in a preseason matchup. I'd say at least 2 touchdowns. 49ers win. Rams and Packers, this is interesting. Now, the biggest question is whether or not the Packers will play their starters or sit their starters. That's the biggest question. I think the Packers may end up going maybe in a game-time situation by a touchdown over the Rams. Because the Rams look good offensively and have made some very good plays defensively. Packers, I was watching that replay last night of the Packers. I don't know. There's certain pieces I think the Packers really need to do something with. I don't think that the pass rush is there for them, whether you have Clay Matthews or not. Clay Matthews can't be your end all. They have some good players. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you have Mike Daniels in the secondary. It just depends. If they start their starters, Packers will go up 2 touchdowns. If they sit their starters, Rams make it a closer one than they think. At least a touchdown lead by the Packers. Lions and Bills, Matthew Stafford in that ridiculous contract. I say ridiculous because it is utterly ridiculous. Been to the playoffs once. That's it. Then they give him this biggest contract in the NFL situation, which is a complete joke. I don't know what the owner has seen in him. I know there's no valid. I'm not going to say bad quarterbacks on the waiver wire, but there isn't a whole lot of great quarterbacks on the waiver wire in a backup situation. Matthew Stafford was probably their best bet. They feel comfortable with him. They feel comfortable that he will execute this season, and all that money will determine whether or not he plays well this season because money is a motivator. Don't let that deter anybody. So think about that. I think the Giants beat the Patriots. Patriots don't have their starters out, as I was so ultimately informed. Thank you, Grego, for that information. And then, lo and behold, you have the Steelers against the Panthers. I don't care who the Panthers are starting. I think it's going to be a close contest. I have a lot of questions for Josh Dobbs. Steelers grabbed him in the fourth, but I'm not too convinced that he's the guy. He needs time. He needs reps. He needs to be on the field. He needs to follow his reads. He needs to do a better job with the football, hanging onto it, getting rid of it, when to throw it away. All the intangibles, but I don't think that's going to come in year one. I'd be very shocked to see him make a lot of presence during this regular season, because don't forget, Landry Jones is the backup. And I'm not saying that Landry Jones is the man by any means, because he's not. Anybody knows that. I know that. So welcome Joe Hayden to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Newest stuff off the wire other than this ridiculous Matthew Stafford contract. Speaking of contracts in the NFL. I think the Steelers will win that contest. I don't care who's under center for the Steelers, because Panthers just don't have that upfront press defense. They're going to press you in covers, but they're not going to press you in a man situation. They're going to give you that cushion, allowing the quarterback time to throw, maybe in the nickel set. No, he hasn't. No, Joe Hayden hasn't shown anything yet, but I'm waiting for him to do so at any point whatsoever. Speaking of Joe Hayden. Steelers take on the Panthers. I think Steelers will the victory. It's going to be a 7-point game either way. Cowboys take on the Texans. That game is canceled, as anybody should know, because they felt that it's in the best interest for Houston Texan players to get back to their family, get back to their area. Oh, no, of course not. He's not the starter. Matt Page, thank you for chiming in. This is Rudy Reyes on the Rude Dog Show on the Two Lights Deuce Radio Network. Here for another couple of minutes. But quickly, they canceled it because they felt they needed to, because the Texans players need to get back to their families and take care of them. That was the right call. Period. Browns take on the Bears. I think the Bears with Mitchell Trubisky. That guy is a fall from grace into the laps of the Chicago Bears. And at first it didn't look very good, like they weren't going to do anything with it, but they did, and they grabbed him. So good for them. Cardinals, Broncos, I think the Broncos have enough defensively to take out the Cardinals, who have historically not been very good. Seahawks against the Raiders. So this is going to be an interesting contest. Russell Wilson's at 100%, and Derek Carr's 100%. So this is going to be very interesting. This is going to be a shootout. I think the Raiders take this by 7. And I'm out of time, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rudy Reyes on the Rude Dog Show on the Two Lights Deuce Radio Network. This will be posted. This will be posted on the RudeDogShow.com. I had some technical issues yesterday, but I found a way to get the audio to you anyway. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. Thank you, Matt, for your input. Thank you, everybody, for chatting with me here on Spreaker. This will be loaded at RudeDogShow.com. Find me at RudeDog Reyes on Twitter, as well as give me a like on my Facebook fan page. I'm ready for this preseason to be done and for the regular season to begin. This is Rudy Reyes on the Rude Dog Show on the Two Lights Deuce Radio Network. I'll see you guys tomorrow.